everybody. Welcome to our 9th grade pre-registration night. 8th graders, you are soon to be high school students, and parents, you are soon to be parents of high school students. Let that sink in for just a moment. So I heard some no's. A couple things that we're going to talk about tonight: promotion to high school, what that looks like, academic plans, high school graduation, the typical 9th grade schedule, our CTE and dual enrollment offerings, and then our elective offerings. So let's go ahead and get started. We always like to start our presentations with our mission and our vision. And so our mission is that Pinecrest Academy, Nevada unites the community to prepare students for college and career. And our vision is that scholars perform at the highest level on all academic measures. And I know that you already see that currently in 8th grade, and we just amplify that a little bit in 9th grade as we move towards preparing your students for college and career. I'll take a moment to introduce a couple of our leadership team members. Now, this is not everybody. We would be here for a long time if we introduced everybody. These are more of our student-facing and parent-facing admin and leadership team members that you'll be interacting with more on a daily basis. First, we have our principal, Brian Redden, Lorraine Oler, who is here, our vice principal. Their positions are both K to 12 or K to college, really. I'm Rachel Galbraith. Hello, nice to meet you. We also have Jamie Purdy. She is our assistant principal over special education and electives. I have high school core and performing arts. And then Sabrina Donato, who is here, who you'll hear from in a little bit, is our CTE, career and technical education admin. We have 3 wonderful deans of students, Mr. Crawford, Mr. Garcia, and Mr. Adams. They are much more than just deans. Typically we think of deans as handling discipline, but they're so much more than that. They really care about the social and emotional well-being of your students as well as helping them navigate peer conflict and different things. Our counseling team, again, not everybody on the counseling team, but more of our the counselors that you'll see in high school. We have Kara Espy. Her position is K to 12, so she supports the whole campus. We have Desert Giancola, who you're familiar with this year as your 8th grade counselor. We have Grace Ruiz, who is our 9th grade counselor and 504 coordinator. Lynn Thomas is our 10th through 12th grade counselor, and Kendra Cox is our dual enrollment counselor. So you'll hear from a couple of them tonight, speaking about their respective pieces. Okay, and now I will turn the time over to Ms. Giancola.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out. Ms. Galbraith's a little taller than me. We shared this information with students a couple weeks ago, but I myself, as a parent of 2 high schoolers, I know how sometimes we tell students things and it doesn't always make its way home, so we really appreciate that we have this opportunity to talk with parents tonight. So just to remind everybody, the promotion requirements to get from middle school to high school, we have to look at 7th and 8th grade combined in order to see if your students are ready to get to high school. So we look at their transcripts, and the minimum requirements are between those 2 grade levels: 1.5 credits in the ELA, 1.5 credits in math, a full credit in science, and a full credit in social studies. And just a reminder that each semester is worth a half a credit. So another way to think of that is they have to pass 3 out of the 4 semesters between 7th and 8th grade in ELA, 3 out of the 4 semesters in math, 2 out of the 4 semesters in science, and 2 out of the 4 semesters of social studies. And if they don't meet those credit requirements, then they will either need to attend summer school or be at risk for retention. So when we're I like this slide here because sometimes we think about all of this information and it can seem like a maze or where do I start? So that's why we like to bring everybody together here at the beginning, even before we are in high school, and start thinking about where are we headed and how do we get there. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ruiz so she can start us off with how are we going to get there.
So we're going to begin with the end in mind with academic plans. An academic plan is a student's intent course schedule for upcoming school year. It's basically your classes that you're going to take for the next 4 years in high school, right? Every year obviously is going to be a little bit different, with the course essentially being the same. So you'll meet with me, and then you'll transition to Ms. Thomas or Ms. Cox, right? It helps students stay on track to reach certain goals or attend post-secondary programs. Ms. Donato is going to also talk about CTE and those requirements. It does encourage students to maintain requirements, take specific courses, and to stay on track to graduation, all right? So your academic plan basically is your classes for the rest of high school, all right? And Mrs. Cox is talking about this.
Essentially, this is your high school credit requirements, and so it's a lot more. You know, Ms. Giancola just mentioned what it takes to get from middle school to high school. The next 4 years of high school for your students, there's a lot more requirements. So there's not a lot of room for not passing any classes. We do start every student on the College and Career Ready diploma, but that is the highest diploma, so it does have a little bit extra as far as math, science requirements go. It also has a component where you have to have a 3.25 GPA. We understand not every kid's gonna get there, but we're striving for the top. And then throughout the years when we work on those academic plans, we do adjust depending on how your student is doing and what their goals are. But this is all posted on our website. It's in the course catalog, and it is on their transcripts once they get to high school, and we meet with the kids every year to review it. It's important for students to understand what they need and also to review their transcripts every year to make sure they're on track. Once you're in high school, there are some requirements that for testing. Now in middle school, they're used to doing iReady testing. So we switch from iReady testing in middle school to CERT testing. And the CERT is the college entrance readiness test that prepares them for ACT testing. So all students have to take the ACT to graduate high school. They do that their junior year. So that CERT is taken starting freshman year 3 times a year like they do with iReady. But instead of focusing on, deficits or where they're at, it's focusing on preparing them for the test and kind of the deficits if they have any, but they can also use it as a tool to improve their scores. All freshmen have to take a state science exam as well, so they do that at the end of their freshman year. They take biology and then they take their science exam. And then the civics exam is taken as a senior. So that's typically taken as part of their U.S. government class. Unless they're in the dual enrollment program, then we have a special testing session for those students. So a little less testing, I think, in some regard in high school, but maybe a little more high stakes as far as that goes. All right, and then the reason that I'm talking to you is because I'm the dual enrollment counselor. So a little bit about dual enrollment. We are preparing now, and we really are preparing 9th grade year, especially for dual enrollment, because when we go to apply for dual enrollment, it's in 10th grade, and 2/3 of that GPA we're looking at when we do our application is your 9th grade GPA. Because by the time we do applications, you've only had 1 semester of 10th grade, so that means your 9th grade year is very important. So we have students that don't make the right choices as far as grades go their freshman year, and then they really struggle to get into dual enrollment. So if that's something that's a goal for you, you got to keep that in mind, that you're working hard on your grades. So dual enrollment is an opportunity to earn college credit while you're still in high school. So our students in the dual enrollment program, they go to classes at the college campus at CSN, and they're taking an English class there or a math or a science class at the college, and then we're giving them credit for it at the high school. So they're not having to also take a high school class of the equivalency. So we also have students earn their associate's degrees through this program. Not everyone does, but there is an opportunity. Usually about half of the students go on to get their associate's degree. So going back to those grades and those importance grades, you do have to have at least a 2.75 GPA. So it's about a B average, maybe a couple of C's in there. You have to be on track to graduate. Going back to all of those core classes we looked at that you need to graduate, you have to have passed your English, your math, your science, your social studies. And then there are benchmarks in the testing as well that we use, as well as behavior and attendance. So if students are having behavior problems even in 9th grade, that is something that we could consider in our dual enrollment application. So we want to make sure that kids understand that. We want everyone to have the opportunities, and those are all important things to consider. We do recommend students for dual enrollment to take a health credit. So if you know you're on the path, you're already in honors classes, you're doing well and everything, and you're thinking that this is your pathway, you could take a health class over summer between now and 9th grade. You could also take it between 9th and 10th grade. So the way that our curriculum works every year, typically that health class is scheduled to be taken during the junior year. And if you're in dual enrollment, you typically don't want to sit in a health class. You want to be able to leave early and go to your classes at college. So that's a recommendation if that's something that you're considering. We also do recommend that you try to get your language credit done. A lot of colleges, even though it's not required for high school graduation, a lot of colleges like to see the language credit. And so if you're not in it already, that might be something to consider for your high school elective, to get that done in your 9th and 10th grade years, so you don't have to worry about trying to take it at the college level. So, all right, I'm gonna turn over for high school athletics.
Hello, me again. We have a myriad of different athletic programs in high school. You can take a look at the list behind me. Some of the requirements, though, to maintain your eligibility is that 2.0 GPA and not having more than one F. There are grade checks that happen every season over a couple of weeks at a time. And so if your student doesn't make that grade check, there's always an opportunity, but they would be ineligible at that time. So super important if you play sports. We pride ourselves, on academics as well, so we want to have both scholars and athletes at the same time. So keep those GPAs in mind. And I'll turn it back over to Ms. Ruiz. We like to keep it moving, keep it fresh, keep you guessing who's coming up next.
Okay. So probably you guys are wondering your student schedules. That's always a big thing when you go to high school. If you look on here, these are the classes that you will be taking, ELA 9, whether it's regulars or honors, world history, regulars or honors, biology, math. That's the sequence, depending again what math class you're currently taking. You're gonna take a CTE course, you're gonna pick, and then PE, whether it's PE or dance, and then your elective. Your course placement is based on grades, diagnostic scores, teachers' recommendations, all right? So just remember that, keep that in mind, especially for honor classes. For CTE opt-out form, that form is gonna be due February 6th. You can also take an online PE, which is $350 to receive another so you can get another elective. So if you do not wanna do PE, and that form also is due February 6th. A lot of due dates are gonna be coming up. So just make sure to keep that in mind. With PE, I don't know if does anybody remember how many credits you need for PE in high school? 2, right? So you need 2 credits of PE. Students, you're able to do an exemption. However, you have to fill certain kind of requirements. 1, you can participate in a state-approved competition sports, and you can give that form to your 8th grade counselor. Just make sure to give that form to Ms. Jinkola by February 6th if you decide to do a PE exempt. Or if you're in a sport, some guys or kids are in football, flag football, any sport, you can do that as well. And PE uniform is the same that you guys use now, so you can use that also for next year as freshmen or throughout high school. For PE, dance, if you're in band, marching band, that is also a PE waiver, so keep that in mind if you do participate in that. Color guards and marching band. So you can continue to use the same PE uniform. And Mrs. Donato.
At Pinecrest Cadence, our career and technical education programs are designed to prepare students for real careers in high-wage, high-skill, and high-demand fields. These programs don't just expose students to career options, they equip them with practical workforce-ready skills. Many CTE students have the ability to earn industry certifications and licenses while still in high school. And nationally, CTE-related degrees can lead to earnings that are, on an average, about $10,000 more per year than associate degrees in other fields. Our CTE programs prepare students for the workforce across a wide range of industries, helping them explore careers early and make informed decisions about their future. At Pinecrest Cadence, these are the 4 pathways that we offer: cybersecurity, digital game development, forensic science, and graphic design. Each of these is a 2-year program designed to build skills progressively. At the end of this presentation, you'll find printed course overviews for each of the pathways available for you to take. So they're right over there. I also encourage you to review the course catalog for detailed prerequisites and any additional costs. So if you have your phones, you're allowed to take them out. Here you see a QR code on the screen. We ask that you or your child scan it and complete a short survey. What this is, it's a survey that asks questions about their likes, their interests, what they dislike, what their strengths are, and based on their responses, it will guide them towards the CTE path that best aligns with the answers that they chose. This is just meant to support their thoughtful decision making. All right. So while we strongly encourage students to participate in a CTE program, students may opt out if they meet the specific criteria listed up on the screen. CTE forms are available on our website and must be submitted to Ms. Giancola by February 6th. Our goal is to ensure every student is set up for success, and whether that plan leads directly to the workforce, college, or both. Now back to Ms. Galbraith.
Okay, probably the last time you'll have to see me. I'm just going to go over the performing arts as I oversee them. We have a couple of different options. We have band, we have dance, we have choir, we have color guard, we have orchestra. All programs are award-winning and fantastic. For our highest level, performing arts, there are auditions that are required, so that information will be coming out soon. Students can only participate in one performing arts program each year, and that's because those high-level performing arts occur first period. And so since you can only take one class first period, that's why there's only one option for performing arts. PE credit is awarded for all high school dance courses, so something to keep in mind if you're not wanting to do PE and you don't qualify for one of those exemptions, dance is an option. And then marching band and color guard are also eligible for that PE exemption. Ms. Giancola, back again.
So now that we kind of told you guys all about like the information of high school and how to get to high school and what you need to know, I'm sure you're just wanting to know, where do I find this information? So Ms. Purdy and the administration team had sent out the course catalog, so I suggest that with your students you review the elective options that we have throughout this week. Our elective requests forms will not be sent out until February 2nd, so you have some time to kind of review that information and see all the choices that we have. Just keeping in mind that our core placements, like Ms. Ruiz said, those are made using multiple data points, so we will be looking at those, and students will not be able to request those ELA, math, science, or social studies courses. And we also like to reiterate that those elective requests are just that, they are requests and they're not guarantees. While we do our best to give students their first, second, top choices, we cannot guarantee that they will get those top choices, just due to like amount of seats and different things like that. We also really recommend that students think about progression when they're picking courses. So if you're already in Spanish 1, you want to continue with Spanish 2 and things like that. And then most importantly, what is your post-secondary plan? So thinking about that academic plan. What does your intended college look for if that's your goal, or different careers that you're interested in, and really like starting to think about your electives based on those. And can your plans change? Absolutely, and that's the really cool thing about trying out different electives, and then maybe in 10th grade you try a different thing and see if you like it and go from there. We do have some electives that we do want to like point out have a certain catch to them. So like Ms. Galbraith said, performing arts does require either a teacher recommendation or audition, so making sure that you are paying attention to those deadlines from your teachers. Same with student council, that has an application and approval. Student cafeteria worker no longer has that health card. We need to update this slide, but it does require administration approval. Competitive robotics does have that application and approval component as well. So if you do select those as your choice in the elective request form, you do need to do that additional component of filling out those applications or the audition pieces, okay? So on the website, pinecrestcadence.org, under academics, and then 26, 27 is where all of this information is housed, where you will find the course catalog. You will also find links. Yeah, there we go. I was like, did we put that? You'll also find like the elective application links when they become available, the high school elective requests. Remember, you guys are going into 9th grade, so that's the form that you'll be filling out, not the 8th grade form for next year. The CTE opt-out forms, if that is something that you are interested in filling out, as well as the PE exemption forms. All of this will be housed under that link, okay? So again, that scheduling pre-registration timeline, February 2nd, is when those elective requests, they'll be emailed out as well as becoming available live on the website. Everything will be due by February 9th, okay? So we ask that you have that long weekend to kind of talk through things, and then we want those elective request forms done by February 9th. And then February 10th, we start meetings with every single student. So we will meet one-on-one with every single student just to go over credits, to make sure that your choices are your choices, and just make sure your academic plan is what you want it to be. So please be patient as we're meeting with 250 students. That does take time, but we promise we will get to every single one of you. And then schedules will be released in August. If you have questions, those are our emails up there, but we will also be sticking around down here for a little bit if you want to come up and ask us individual questions. Anybody have anything else? Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for your time.